Hello and welcome to my course. So one of the ways of practicing G major scale and using the whole range of the instrument is dividing the scale itself into little parts. So the first part we're gonna have is gonna be the scale going from the G to the G with an octave key. Let me just demonstrate. Now, if playing a scale like this is too difficult for you, don't be afraid to divide this bigger chunk into even a smaller chunk. So you can always divide it into two parts, like first four notes, and second four notes from the D, so D, E, F sharp, and G. Now, the second bigger chunk that we're going to discuss is going to be the one we talked about before a little bit. So, it's going to be the one starting on a G with an octave key, going upwards till the top F sharp. However, because of the fact that this one is slightly harder to play than the previous chunk, we're going to actually really divide into two smaller ones. So, we're going to really play just the first four notes again, this time with an octave key. Just make sure you play this a couple of times before you proceed to the next chunk. So let me try that again. And one more time. And finally, the next chunk is going to start on the C with an octave key, followed by the D with an octave key, then E, and then finally the top note F sharp. Let me just try that. One time. Now, if for some reason these four notes are too difficult, don't be afraid to again limit your range to maybe two notes maximum, or to set up a limitation for the top note, which in this case might be, let's say you're going to go as high as the top D, and that's perfectly fine as long as all the notes you're playing are coming out, rather easily for you. So then, the next bit we're going to discuss is going to be the low range and the chunk in the low range. So we're going to start on the G, and we're going to play only the first four notes, so between the G and the D, so that's going to be what? G, F sharp, E, and the D. Let me just try that for you. Now, it's very important that you use a separate chunk for the real bottom notes. So like limited to maybe only 2 or 3 notes. So in our case that will be what? D, low D, so all the fingers left hand and 3 fingers on the right hand. Then followed by C, so you add just the left little finger here to the bottom key here. And finally the B. So let's try maybe just going in a pair, so just the D to C. One time. And once you're comfortable with the D-C connection, you can try C to B, like so. Before even moving from the C to B, just make sure that that C is really well established, and that the note is strong and nothing can really break it. So I would recommend maybe going long tones, so like holding a note for 8 beats and setting up the metronome for like crochet equals 60 and playing maybe a couple of times the C and holding it for 8 beats. And then once the C is nice and rock solid, you can try pairing it up with the low D to C, so D to C. And then once that's really comfortable, you can try going C to B, always making sure that both notes are nice and big. And then the next thing you need to keep in mind is that what we just discussed is just little chunks, but then once you're comfortable with the small chunks, you can make bigger chunks. And it's very important that you know how to do so on the scale. So in our example of the scale, I'm going to start on the low G, and that's going to be followed by A, and then B, C, all the way up to the G with an octave key. And then we're going to go past that G, and let's say we're going to stop on the top D. Let me just demonstrate that. So we're going to start on the bottom G, going up to the top D. Then, as next, you can turn around and go back from that D to the G where you started. Then, from that G, you're going to go all the way down to the B, and immediately turn around and go back up to the G, to the point where you started again from the low B, like so. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time.